I'm Salim Mansur, and I'm the People's Party candidate in the riding of London North Centre. I'm directing this message to all voters in my riding, but in particular to those of you who are in your 30s or younger. It is most likely that your fundamental value is personal freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of belief, freedom of movement, freedom to explore and to innovate, and freedom from government of any sort that tell you what you're allowed to think or to think about and what you are not allowed. Freedom is fundamental for growth. Freedom is to be alive, and freedom is God's gift to each one of us. Freedom is responsibility, is caring, is learning to love and ready to defend the rights of others, of refusing to live by the code of political correctness that those in authority seek to impose upon the rest of us in order to control our thinking and our speaking for their own purpose. Sadly today, if you look at the policies and practices of the present Liberal government and the main opposition parties, the Conservatives, the New Democrats and the Greens, our freedoms are being whittled away on the basis of political correctness. This is how it works. First, one of the parties introduces a non-binding motion, such as Motion 103 on Islamophobia, that sounds like it is protecting a perceived persecuted group. Then this non-binding motion or resolution is given teeth through government funding. That is scores of millions of dollars spent to support the same lobbyists and NGOs who initially came up with the idea of the motion. Then the academics join in and argue that if you want to disagree with any or all of this and lecture at a university or college, you have to pay an exorbitant security fee for privately sponsored events, and you may be attacked verbally or physically by those who might disagree with you. I have experienced this personally, as have others such as Jordan Peterson of the University of Toronto. The sponsors had to double the security payment close to the last minute before the event in which I spoke, and escort me after the event to the subway for fear of an attack. Is this freedom of speech? Is this where our country has been heading of late? Is this right that in the natural course of disagreements, when individuals who refuse to bend to political correctness are smeared as racists and bigots? Such were and still remain the modus operandi of governments in communist China, Cuba, the Middle East, the former Soviet Union, North Korea, etc. And that is the direction in which we are headed unless we firmly defend our freedoms before we are dispossessed of them. And of course, I'm not telling you anything new by relating the fact that the present Liberal government of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, with little or no opposition, decided to subsidize the already largely pro-government media to the tune of nearly $600 million. Do you think for a moment they will subsidize their critics? Hardly. You may be sure that freelance journalists who still have the courage and ability to tell right from wrong will also not be subsidized. On the contrary, they will likely find less and less opportunity to write, produce, and publish freely when the government-subsidized media outlets stop contracting them. Let me tell you bluntly, the People's Party of Canada is the only party in the country that wants to increase, not decrease, your personal freedom. Maxime Bernier is the only leader and member of Parliament adamantly opposed to any curtailment of our freedoms. Maxime Bernier understands freedom of speech is the mother of all freedoms. And if we allow the present trend of constricting our freedoms continue, our horizon will narrow, our world will shrink, our rights will diminish, and before we are fully awakened to our enclosed world of political correctness, our Canada will have been turned into George Orwell's version of Animal Farm. Please take note that this coming election is as vital, as important, and as urgent for you and I to vote on an informed basis as was the election of 1980, when the future of Canada hung in the balance with the threats of Quebec separatism looming large. My mother would say to me, one never gets a second chance to make a first impression. Let me paraphrase the wisdom of my mother to say to you, we will never get a second chance to get this election right, to vote and protect our freedoms, if we do not vote on an informed basis of what has gone wrong in our beloved Canada. If you wish, as I know you do and must, Canada to remain strong and free, then your only choice is to cast your vote on October 21st for the candidate in your riding or electoral district who you know will most adamantly defend your and our freedoms. And such a candidate will be a People's Party candidate holding firmly to the values that Maxime Bernier represents. I and the People's Party am counting on you and your support as are all freedom-loving Canadians. Thank you.